So right now, African comics are getting international recognition out there. But the question is, why should we care when we have characters like Superman, like Batman, like the Avengers at the top out there? Well, that's what we're here to find out. Okay, recently on Instagram, I put out a poll, and it was actually a poll to decide what character to draw between Malika from the Unique Studios and Iriti from Comic Public Studios. And actually, what came out was Malika on top, and that popped the question in my head because actually these are of African characters, and then I was like, why actually is African content important? Well, I'll be starting a YouTube series very soon designing African characters, not just any African characters, but African characters that are standing at the top right now in their whole storylines from Unique Studios, Comic Public, Votex, Epoch Comics, and so much more out there. Please do consider subscribing and hitting the notification icon so that you'll be notified when I do post those videos. So back to the question at hand. Well, why read African comics? Why even care about these African comics? Well, the answer is quite simple, to be precise. There are many reasons, but I'll get into them now. Sure. So firstly, African stories are actually rich. So rich in the matter of speaking, as in the complexity of their stories. And right now you could tell that all the international audiences or companies have told a lot of Western stories. So they've told the stories from every single viewpoint you can tell. But now there's so much untapped culture and tradition in Africa that these stories will just seem to keep coming. So right now, African stories are so rich to the international community because there's so much they do not know about this. So the first reason to care about the African comic book industry, art industry, and everything in general is one, pushing out there the African narrative. Pushing out there the African narrative is very important right now. A reason why we should read African content. Well, actually, I could say this video could be for those in Africa and also those in the international community, but all the same, the reason still remains unchanged. Pushing out the African narrative, letting people see their stories from their own viewpoint. As in, if Africans should tell African stories from their own viewpoint. Right now, the communities at large have done a lot of work telling African stories, and right now the most popular character we know in Africa from the Marvel Studios is Black Panther. As in, awesome job, they did an awesome job actually portraying African culture. It was all nice, but actually that is all I can tell you about that. But African culture is richer than that, and Africans right now want to push out those stories, want to push out that particular content out there. Second reason we say is because there's a lot of potential in the African market for this industry. So recently I came across an ad from Netflix directed by Genevieve, an African, a Nigerian, and it was about African content for Africans by Africans. Because actually, if you look at it sincerely or focus on it directly, you will notice that there's a large market of consumers in Africa. And if Africans right now, because the comic public studios and indie studios are actually gaining the attention of the African market, not just the African market, but also the international community with their character titles like Malika, like Guardian Prime, like recently now by the comic public studios, Vanguard. You understand? So actually, I find Vanguard to be very interesting because you have all these scientists now playing with forces they do not understand and all pushing out there, all these consequences by manipulating the laws of the cosmos. And now they've brought upon humanity a wrath from all these deities, mythical beings, and creatures. Now, who is going to fend off these fools when science itself has no power against some magical creatures and deities? Well, it has to be superheroes who have the power to do so. So actually, that's what makes this story of Vanguard so interesting. As in, I was looking for more. Unfortunately, they just released the first issue, and after I knew that, I was like, where's the second issue? Or well, luckily they'll be releasing. So actually, for these characters, for these views, I will link in the description below to their website where you can check them out. Well, about that, everybody thought Nigerian content, comic book reading in Africa could not be monetized, but actually we could not be so wrong, because right now African reading in Africa has been successfully monetized. So, as in, the most surprising among all the few is we could say Comic Republic, who sends our comic out there for free. How do they stand? Though we have unique studios who leave their contents for as in to be purchased, Epoch Studios and Votex and so much others. There are characters like Kwezi too from South Africa. You can also tell that character too. It's not free, but you could purchase. But actually, Africans are paying a lot of attention to these characters and driving a lot, because actually, you could tell that Africans always wanted to tell their stories, and the international community, knowing so little about Africans, did their best to actually portray African stories in the way they could. But now Africans, having the tools, having the skills, having the abilities, now have succeeded in equipping themselves, getting ready to push out those content. So come on guys, it is actually pushing out the African narrative, and actually the value industry in the industry, it's so large, enormous, that with time, give it time, it will grow into something big. I would say right now this is the golden age of comics, but I wouldn't say so, because actually I won't be a comic book analytic, or I can't analyze it for myself because I'm not a pro at that. I'm just giving my own opinion. You guys have your own opinion. Well, actually, another reason why African comics should be taken seriously right now, should be read, should be focused on, is because, come on, how many of you have not heard about African stories? If you've not heard about African stories, I don't think you're from this world, because if at least Black Panther could count. Well, as in, first of all, let me actually discuss about what I'm actually making here. So if you can see this character right now that I'm working on, this is a character from my series that I have been developing. It's a series dear to my heart. I call it Human Nature, portraying nature, air, water, and so much more, personifying them as creatures, as beings. Now, as in, this is the best I could do at the time, at the moment. But right now, you could see me rendering out the scales and the feathers. As in, I was trying to create a sense of like the complexity in his appearance. When you see him, you want to ask yourself, who is this character? You understand? As in, you look at his eyes are so soft, he's so caring, but then you look at his whole personality, his whole form, and you're like, wow, there's so much question to be asked. Is he a good guy or a bad guy? But actually, come on, I call him the Earth Druid, so he should be a good guy. Well, at this point I was rendering out the eyes, but then I skipped forward, which I just did now. But actually, if you want to see how I render eyes and make them as poppy as possible, as eye-catchy as possible, you could leave a comment in this YouTube comment section below, and I will consider working on that video. So at this point, I was trying to actually give the character a three-dimensional form. I was trying to make all the renders be real. So at this point, I was actually using a reference to actually get these effects done, but actually all the painting I did myself. But you could tell that I'm not Kim Jong, you understand, who could just sit down and then do the best with his photographic memory. That is not me. So actually, what I did the best that I could do with what I had. You understand? So I was trying to make this painting as painterly as possible, not over rendering it and making it as eye-catching as possible, portraying the message I wanted to. So working with the back of the trees, making it the horn, making the shoulder pads on him, or the shoulder extrudes trees and branches, trying to give him that kind of appearance of a bird, feathers, you understand, all this kind of interesting kind of stuff. So actually now I was just having some thought process here and there what to actually do here and there. So right now I give him skills, I give him feathers. If you can actually see, this was actually the most interesting part for me doing, because it was just so interesting and fun for me. But actually this principle I worked with here, because I started noticing he was giving out too much detail at part. I didn't want you to naturally notice, and we have to balance it out, because you need to have areas in your painting of higher contrast and areas of lower contrast, higher detail and lower detail. So that is what I succeeded in doing right now. Well, all things good, all things good. Well, about the African narrative, pushing it out there, I say that it is important to push this content out there to the international community, to the African community. We have awesome stories to tell, and African stories actually right now will go so far, because it will only be by we pushing the stories out there, by we pushing this content out there to the international market, that everyone will actually value them as we value them, not just Africans themselves, not just Nigerians, not just South Africans, but what everyone who value these stories. Because if you look at it, what makes all these characters like Superman, like Batman, and the Avengers so captivating is because they've been told from a viewpoint to make them relatable. And if you look at it, we pushing our content just like that too makes our content eventually relatable. Oh, that's so interesting, as in, so you have to ask yourself a lot about this African coin. And if you're hearing this and if you don't know about these characters, well, don't worry, I'll be leaving a link in the description below and you can go check them out for yourself. My favorite so far right now is actually the Malika series, the Vanguards series from Current Public. Well, these two right now are actually captivating me right now to read more and more, seeing how the African narrative can be pushed. You understand? It sounds so interesting, it sounds so clever, and I'll always push these contents out there. So listen, what's our conclusion? What is my own conclusion on the matter that we've just successfully discussed? Well, my conclusion of the matter is that yes, African comics and stories are important, and we should read them. We should give them a lot of attention, be it from Africa, be it from international community. The stories we tell are important. There's a lot of, the culture is rich, the stories are rich, the complexities are there, and it just makes it worth reading. I'll say that at this point, my character that I'm designing right now on the screen is close to the end, and I've succeeded in giving it as much detail as I could. Working on the composition and everything came together, and I was really proud of it. So guys, go read African content, go read African stories, and as always, I'm Bloody Mart. Thank you for listening to me ramble, and I'll see you next time.